many of you guys actually got to go around and actually see some of the different data displays. It's pretty great. I just want to make sure there's somebody at every table that's at least went and drive this conversation. If you weren't able to look at any of them, hopefully you're familiar with the data set that you guys use. And you can talk about that, because what we really want to do is thinking about October. So thinking about October, and like, what are we going to actually prepare for October? We want to make sure that we have something that the practitioners and this group can use. And I love what you said about, you know, how this has really progressed. Because one thing I did hear yesterday at the data walk was that from a lot of people, and from my experiences too, is that this kind of initiative really takes about 3 years, right? The first year, you're like, what is this? I'm not really sure. You're familiarizing everybody. The second year, you're kind of turning it over, fixing things as it comes along, and then that third year is really where you get some steam and you're like, all right, I know what this is, I've got my routines down, and we can actually move with this. So the first thing that I want you guys to sit at the table and talk about is just kind of thinking about what was the most exciting thing that you saw yesterday, what was the most unique kind of aspect that you saw, and how did the examples differ from what you currently use. So we did get a very wide variety of different data systems yesterday. We got everything from getting kids ready for post-secondary to I don't know if there was much that was just early morning systems. But just thinking about, like, was it display aspects? Was it things that people were talking about that really piqued your interest? So you could just take about 5 to 7 minutes at your table to talk through like what those most exciting things were and how the examples were different from what you currently use. That would be wonderful. And then we'll come back and I want to hear what you guys are all saying. That's going to report out, yes? And I would like to hear from each table because I think this is a really important part of the conversation. And I think Joanna and I were just talking how far data systems have come, right? So when we first started this was 4 years ago, 3 years ago, where we had the first meeting, and just we had red, yellow, blue, or red, yellow, green, and very simplistic systems, very static systems. There wasn't a lot of dynamics. And walked around yesterday, there was a lot going on, right? So I would love to hear from each of your tables. Do I have a volunteer to go first?
Okay, so we started off very similarly talking about the diversity in terms of where they come as a field and what we saw yesterday. We also, and the team will help me, talked about the notion of piggybacking on Paula's idea of like data literacy, but it's not just about the tools, it's about the support and having people really guide folks to understand what decisions they can and should be making and what comes next. And with the what comes next, one of the things we were talking about is a lot of the intervention and kind of the intervention support, having that in the same place so it's not a different log on, a different platform, a different dashboard, but having that kind of seamless aspect. And Carla's going to go from here.
Yeah, what we talked about is that it's the data visualization is only as good as your teaming and your ability to act on the data that you see in order to, so it's the framework around professional learning and diving deep into root cause analysis. And then even once you know that, having it easy enough where people can document and track it. A lot of times I hear from teams, we just need more interventions. We don't have enough interventions. But what I would propose is that maybe you do. You don't actually know if you have enough interventions if you're not tracking what you're currently doing with kids and you're not able to see the result of your actions. And sometimes you say, so I've sat in teams as a leader and people have said, okay, I'll do a home visit with that student. Well, 2 weeks later, we follow up and they just didn't have time to do the home visit. And then the narrative becomes home visits don't work. Well, they don't work if you don't go. And it's not out of lack of intention, but not having some way to actually be able to see that in, at a large scale, then that it becomes part of the narrative is that we just want a technical solution to something that requires an adaptive fix. And the way the data tools are what can help us stay in the adaptive. Right. If they drive us to do root cause analysis, if they require us to document our actions and monitor our progress.
Right. Yeah, it's a tool. Like if you're gardening, you use tools, but if you don't know how to garden at all, you don't water. Yeah. Right. You're gonna grow. I'm sorry. So, Thank you guys very much. I think that also ties into like that intervention tracking, and that's so huge.
Yeah.
It's a big thing that schools are already doing. Most schools are doing it in like Google Docs and or Excel spreadsheets, and it works to an extent, but having a systemized solution to that is really, really important, and focusing on our tiered systems of support, right? So if there's a bunch of people that need support in something, don't go be all individual on each one. So, all right, next item.
I can talk. One of the things we talked about was the core student report and how exciting it was to see. I think a lot of times we talk about the systems being designed for educators to use and to look at, and the idea of actually being able to look at a component of the system being something that's student facing, so that students are able to engage with that information and be able and be empowered and encouraged to take action off of that information without necessarily educator or people in the system. What that we talk about, what that looks like at a public college level.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Did you guys see that system that they would use for students to actually see some of the work that they're doing, come in and see their thing? Anyway, that was very interesting. So they're supposed to work with counselors though as they go through and look at their data and make a plan, right? All right, how about this table right here?
We talked about sort of the consistency of the kinds of data that's collected across the different systems, but also brought up the fact that it would be useful if we do more of the qualitative information, the socio-emotional kinds of factors that might contribute to student success. And also, of course, some of our partners that may be nonprofits or not actually part of a school system, that sometimes they had difficulty accessing the data that was collected by the school systems.
Thank you. How about you guys?
But a couple things, I think, well, you said, Paul, there in this group, we were talking about, Joshua had a good point on when he went, and he had a more broader experience with it yesterday than the rest of us did, and we appreciate the opportunity to have done that. The idea that having where we do the interventions, and then is it a follow-up, like mentioning, it's not going to help if we identify it, but then we don't know how to move forward with it. And from previously as a school counselor position in a rural education setting, lots of times we wouldn't have a lot of extra support or resources. We were the supports, to be able to know and to follow up as that counselor and be able to deal with what's the next step and have easy access to track, because I had a caseload in addition to a teaching load of over 400 students on a 7th through 12th grade in my campus. And so it was constant. Am I running to class? And I wasn't a real teacher because I was also the counselor, so I didn't really have a classroom, so it was constantly, and I'm like, I gotta keep up with all these kids. And we at the time had a data system, and with even the lack of expertise that I started out with initially, that I was able to customize reports and things, and it was helpful with the information that we've got available to us now, and that was in the late 90s, early 2000s. So by now, I'm just thinking there's so much that we can do, but the crucial point is, and I go back, and not to bring up, it's something that I know we're dealing with. We talked a little bit about at one of our groups yesterday, the situation at Parkland is, and you go back and just the limited information that came out, there's so many stop gaps where things failed to meet and help on every level there. And I just kept thinking from my counseling perspective, my hat up naturally went on, and I was thinking from how they must have felt and what, like, you're going, what if I caught that one thing on the dashboard somewhere and I could have followed up, right? And why didn't it work? And to me, that's the ultimate, obviously, in this space that we've got to look and make sure, because protecting those kids and helping them get where they need to be is why we're thinking, right?
It's that human side that really makes it.
Absolutely. Facilitate their success and their well-being.
Correct.
End of story, in my opinion.
Yeah. So what do you take from this that we can actually use to make the human side easier?
And the systems work for referrals. So getting a student from this office to this office to this office,
And
and
know
the
that
way
they
they, they get post complete.
Yeah. I would think that would be in that intervention side, or, but conversation. Let's keep going around the room. How about you?
Yeah, so we, sort of synthesizing from like a results-based accountability how well we're doing. I think the conversation was about not letting the perfect be the enemy of the good, and getting into that to that mindset. So how well keeps moving at the progress of iteration, and trying to talk to our audiences about getting in that mindset too, and not letting that stop us from implementing, at least to some extent, pilot things. I think the big question at the end of the conversation was, is anyone better off, and how do we know that? And so it feels like the next step in this work is to get better at showing the impact of the increased use of data for young people and data systems on their actual outcomes.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think I had a conversation with a couple of people around how do you know if your report's being used? But what I kept hearing is like, well, we can track how many times people open up their report. But what does that mean? What does that look like? We know that that's actually so. How about your table, Pete? Not that you have to start, but.
Does anyone else want to speak? Come on, everyone. Come on, please. So actually, 4 of the people at the table had our own table, and the other 2 were not able to make it. So we sort of did more of a review of what, like Jen and I both did escape and get to see a little bit of what other people were sharing, and then Adult shared what they had at their table. And something that's interesting that I saw in a couple of other places that Adult also included is how they got where they ended up, which I think is interesting to see sort of like the ups and downs. And I think from Massachusetts, we sort of also shared a little bit of the process and sort of building it, and how we're trying to really focus on the usage. Like we have the data, which really think how can we help support people using it. And then one of the things that was like a takeaway that I know like my parents ask is that intervention piece and how to help people track it, which I know something we sort of struggle with at like the higher level, like the state level, and trying to support people in the districts.
Thank you, Kate. How about over here?
So what I shared was that I thought the most compelling data displays were the ones that had clarity around the audience and what it was that audience could do with that data. So there was one, I think it was mentioned earlier, that was oriented towards the student, and the student having information about whether or not they're on track or off track, or others that were oriented towards the counselor to help them understand how the data can inform how they reflect on student fit and matching. So I think just having a clarity, because I love data, and so I asked a lot of questions until it gets to a point where I know how I would use it. But I think when you're a busy educator, you need that interpretation to be done for you at some level. So getting to that next level, I know it takes a tremendous amount of effort, but I definitely saw some that have managed to make that move.
Yeah, there was one that was specifically built for administrators, like to answer decisions around for administrators. And that was fascinating. Do the research around what do administrators need to know, and then how do we gather the data and make this dashboard so that they have that experience. I love that. Finding your audience. Okay, how about you guys?
So we were really impressed with Mike Barnes there from Riverside County, especially with their audit process from the school level. So I think that when you're looking at data systems, you've got to keep the context in mind. So is it really for the school leadership, or is it for the classroom leadership, or is it for the individual student? And then how do you align that data profiling with the correct context? And I think some of the work they've done is very impressive, I think, from that auditing process. And so I think when we're looking at data systems for true improvement, and especially at the student, school, either different contexts, having that systems approach about those data systems, I think, is going to be critical for it.
What about you guys? Anything to add? That 2 tables left.
So I think I think a lot of it has already been covered. The one thing that I will say is I think that one of the trends that I'm seeing that's incredibly promising is a move from data as a magic box where it's just sort of trust us and we'll answer the questions for you to more of a consumer side orientation around who's our audience, what do they need to do their jobs effectively, and how do we approach that from a data perspective. And so a lot of the tools that I was looking at yesterday were really geared towards, you are a counselor, you are an administrator, you are a teacher. Here's what we've worked with you on in terms of defining the metrics that you need to make your job successful and easy, or easier, right? There's no such thing as an easy job in education. And how can we support that? And I think that's a fundamental shift from the days of autopsy by data, where we would just dissect whatever happened last year, and then it would be the next year's kids that benefited from whatever we learned 2 years ago. So yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely build it and they will come, hopefully, and now I feel like we're incorporating user reviews a lot, user reviews side a lot more. Thank you. How about you guys?
I think we all agreed that the most positive thing that jumped out was just the focus on action. You know, there's no point in doing an early warning system for anything if you're not ready to do something about it. And a lot of the systems are really developing their notion of either decomposing their predictives down into actionable, smaller domains and aligning those to interventions. So that's super encouraging. We also talked a little bit about, like Eric's display in Montana, does show which kids are getting interventions. And so maybe that's where we need to, like, if our focus is on supporting action, maybe the next wave we need to really think about, well, how do we make that action visible? So.
Yeah.
Just one thing I wanted to add based on what I just heard is that what our in-house, our ultimate audience, or we have multiple audiences, but certainly administrators, teachers, counselors who want to make sure that they're using our data portal and using it to inform decision making. So what we've started to do recently are the designers and engineers on our team are conducting usability testing, which is really cool. So we'll bring in counselors, we'll bring in administrators, and kind of just like, there are different protocols they use, but one of them is just put the laptop in front of the person and just say, like, go, like, what do you see? Like, what are you noticing? What are you doing? What makes sense to you? And then when they have no idea what to do next or what to click, that's information, right? And then, so like that's a big piece of it, and that's helped us to iterate and change a lot of the tools that we've been using based on the input of the users.
Yeah. It does seem like that's going to be where we're going, I hope, at some point, right? Because we've already shifted from the build it and they will come to what do you guys need and how do we make this useful. I think that, and also the measuring for impact